Hey, you like cars? Well, so do I. Take a seat real quick. You're listening to CarQuicks. I'm back. Earlier than usual. Sometimes I have a little bit of a gap between time, but I had something I wanted to discuss. It's not going to be the normal episode. This is kind of like a PSA or an informative opinion or an educated opinion. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of my thoughts on the matter. And it might be useful for you. You might find it something to keep in your back pocket because the games that are about to be played, that are coming up, it's crazy. So we're just going to dive right into this. About a month ago, we're like a month into this now, GM made a pretty wild statement. They said, our future EVs will no longer support Apple Carplay and Android Auto, right? Some people are probably like, it's a big deal. They're going to have their own little infotainment system. They're going to have their own little radio. It's not a problem, but it is a problem. When they made this announcement, the backlash, the noise, the arguments, the comments online, everywhere you went, every forum, every website, Jalopnik, The Drive, Autoblog, Edmunds, almost universally across the board, everybody said the same thing. That's a dumb idea. Why would you try to do that? Number one, why are you taking away options from your customers for cars that you want to sell? That's really the biggest issue here, right? You're taking away something that's already in place. And what you have to basically take over what was already there and working has yet to be shown or yet to be proven. And so like a couple days ago, I wasn't even really going to talk about this subject, but a couple days ago, the CFO of the company, let me get his name real quick because I got to put this on blast because it was just a reckless conversation that was being had by these people. But the CFO of the company, I don't know if I have his name here. Let me see if it brings up his name. They have the gentleman that's head of software at GM, name was Scott Miller, but the CFO, Chief Finance Officer, okay, basically doubled down on this idea. I mean, when I say double down, double, quadruple down, basically said we can create an experience that customers are going to love. Essentially saying they are going to create something that's on par with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I want us to just have a trip down memory lane, okay? I want us to understand who these companies are, what their end goal is, who they're competing against, and where we're at right now. So GM doesn't have some wildly good history of making anything infotainment that is good. I don't care what car you have. If we're talking about the latest and greatest from GM, their infotainment systems are okay at best. Okay at best. None of them are making you say, guess you know what I don't need? I don't need my cell phone no more when I get my car. The system they got in there, flawless. That's not happening. See, the reason why Apple CarPlay and Android Auto have taken off so much is because most people, when they get into these cars, are so annoyed by the archaic system and the touchscreen that takes 3 taps to then register that I did something. They were annoyed enough by it that they wanted something that was emulating their phone, because what was happening is that folks was getting the aux cable or finding out they could plug their phone in, they could take over the speakers and using their phone to run everything. Apple CarPlay gets introduced, integrates into the infotainment system where it takes over the screen, or Android Auto, and everybody's happy. They didn't just do this because they have nothing else to do on this day. They did it because there was a need. And the public was speaking to issues with many manufacturers. GM is just one of they're pretty bold in making a statement like this, considering their history, whether it comes to cars, how they're built, reliability, but especially technology in the car, infotainment, software. hardware running, they're talking like they have made some of the greatest computers ever, or they're behind one of the biggest working databases. Like they have made an operating system that's used by 90% of all the phones in the world, or that they have operated in systems that are used by almost all the creatives in the world, or that they have made applications that are universally loved by a vast majority of people in a certain industry or certain industries. What are we actually talking about? Okay. Let me just give you some more history. Let me just give you some more information on how he doubled down on this. And I'm going to tell you my opinion on what I ultimately think is actually going on. So they had a conversation. He was on, I think it was Yahoo Finance, the CFO, and he was having a conversation with just general what's the future GM, what's the future of their EV strategy, whether it's a Chevy Blazer EV, other cars that are coming out. They're just talking about where they see themselves in the next 10 years. And obviously, because a month ago, they just came out firing shotguns in the air saying, hey, guess what, guys? Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, we're going to axe that in our EVs. We're going to do our own thing, which as soon as they said it, like I said, everybody had backlash. So they were asked a question of like, well, is this going to be good for the business? Is this the right move to make? Their answers are clearly sound like somebody who's not in touch, and it should not be this way because the information that they are talking about is readily available at their fingertips. Here's a line he said. There are many manufacturers today that don't have CarPlay. Using the sentence many makes, obviously if it's more than three, it's many. It's not a few, it's many. Okay, fine, it's four. The list of car manufacturers that are on the Apple website that are compatible with CarPlay is over 600. 600 car models are compatible. So whatever few little sprinkling of little older models here and there, little obscure Renault Clios, seats, whatever Russian car brand is not on there, then yes, you can say, oh, there's a few out there that don't have CarPlay. Okay, what do 95% of them have? Exactly. He goes on to say, but I think we recognize that the burden is on us. If we are going to take that feature out of our vehicles, we need to respond with a program and a customer package that is equally as compelling, if not more compelling. We think with the partnership we have, ultimately with the vehicle data we have, we can create an experience that customers are going to love. They're out of touch. Like, they're totally out of touch here. To say something is equally as compelling is almost as if you are saying the years that we have been using Android phones and iPhones and the constant upgrades that they do yearly, quarterly, the changes that we've made to the hardware, the changes to the operating systems, the changes to how it integrates into car systems is somehow going to be created by General Motors in the span of, I don't know, 3 to 5 years. They're going to accomplish what Apple's been doing since 2007. Actually earlier. That's when we saw the product. They have been working on the back end since about 2003, if not earlier. The same with Google. Android had been worked on for years before it showed to the public eye. So you're saying that there's companies out there that have 20 plus years of all they do is software. This is our bag. This is our bread, our butter. Apple being the kind of the anomaly in this situation because they do hardware, but they're a software company. They might vertically be a hardware company at the same time, but ultimately these are software companies. Google's a software company. Apple's a software company. This is their bag. They have done this at every scale, from computer to mobile devices. To have GM CFO come on TV and say, we can make something as compelling is a wild is it's almost arrogant, honestly. Like where I guess we just forget about all the history of the information I just spoke about. All the things that we did compelling inside of our phones that we're holding in our hand don't matter. General Motors, the people that are currently making some of the best cars ever, I'm pun intended. It's not happening. We already know. Plenty of people ain't buying GMs for a variety of reasons. The infotainment system and the computer system they have should not be one of them that's on the list that they're saying that they can compellingly make a compelling car. Okay? How about we do that? Make compelling EVs. We haven't even seen what you got. The Chevy Blazer might look cool. We don't know what it's going to do. Make that compelling. You worrying about things that are out of your wheelhouse. They had their gentleman that heads the software division. I'm not saying these people aren't smart in their own right, but you're talking about creating something that you've never done at a scale that you've never done. To take away something that people are all using. That's what makes it so funny. Everybody that's going to buy one of these cars, when they get inside of the car, they either are going to have an iPhone or an Android phone in their pocket. That is the fact. So for that phone or that Android phone or that iPhone to not be able to function with their car, considering that a vast majority of them, if not 90% of them on the market do, you're putting yourself in a silo that nobody's looking at. Nobody's going to be with GM saying, I want to see what they can do on the software end. And people might mention Tesla saying they don't have that. Tesla literally is an anomaly, right? They created a demographic and a fan base that loves the car for what it is because it's been proven to be a very good EV, a very good car, a compelling car manufacturer. GM doesn't have that on their side, right? And even then, if you ask those that own Teslas, do they want this? It's a universal yes. Yes, they want Android Auto. Yes, they want Apple CarPlay. That is what they want. And soon enough, Elon looking at GM say, we're going to take it away. How much you want to bet he's going to add it in? He's been chopping the prices left and right like it's buy one, get one, like it's a supermarket sweep. Them prices have been getting chopped up, getting sued all month long since the beginning of the year. Now you're going to have GM say, we're taking away one of the most compelling features of modern day cars away from our EVs. How do you think Tesla would respond? If you was in this market competing, you'd be like, these cats, these guys right here, boy, are they dumb. I'm going to go ahead and just add it in there. I'm going to let them figure out their compelling software that they've never created. We're going to see how far they get that off the ground in due time. So really the point of this is, what is the end game here, right? Why would GM say, we're going to take this away? Why are they going to take away something that is so well done? And Apple has further features coming. You saw very recently at some press conference, some tech press conference, they talked about that the next iteration of Apple CarPlay takes over the whole car. That's where the secret Apple car that they're not working on, is very prevalent, because the system that they want to work on is the infotainment system. But they're a software company. If anybody's going to do this in the most compelling way, it would be CarPlay. It would be Apple. They are actually the most popular version of this type of infotainment system where it piggybacks off your phone over Android Auto. And that's where I get to where I know what this is. See, GM or any other car manufacturer is going to come out and say, we're going to do our own thing. It's a grab for your data and it's for money. That is the bottom line. There are subscriptions that are coming. We are about to start paying for heated car seats because you already do. Okay? There are manufacturers out there who are going to start charging for features. Oh, you want your sunroof to open again? You're going to need to set up that automatic withdrawal for forward 95. Oh, it looks like your payment didn't go through. Going to go ahead and cut off that lumbar support. It's coming. So anybody that has a system that is run off a phone that they don't own, they don't control, they don't have your data, they don't know who's on the phone, they don't know what your demographic is, what you like to eat, what you drive, why did you choose this car, what type of career do you have, kids, are you married? What's your zip code? All of those things are data points, right? So I'm going to kind of get into my tech bag for you guys. These data points are very valuable, right? This is what is driving a lot of the services you see. It drives a lot of what are the products you see. And so if companies can get behind some of this data and understand who it is that is driving their cars and buying them outside of the little surveys they send you when you buy the car, it is further pushing them closer to having the entire outlook of where their finances and where they financially can go, right? The subscriptions are coming whether we like it or not, because it's already been proven to work. If something is compelling, when you add a subscription to it, we're not leaving. Netflix has all of us almost by a stranglehold. So when they increase the price to $20, we might buck and yaw and be like, I can't believe they did this. And we still subscribe. Because we are compelled by the entertainment we've gotten from the app. I'm not saying that it's been the craziest recently, because we ain't got no Ozarks. Stranger Things is over. Narcos, I don't know where the next season is. So it's not saying that times can't come with a little bit of a lull, but they've already done the groundwork to reel us in, right? We're reeled in. They already got us. GM is talking about a product that they have nothing to show. There's no prototype. There's no hands-on display. There's nothing to prove that you're about to take over what is selling by the millions on millions every year. That's mobile phones. They're the ones that are the operating system that everybody knows. If you stand back and say, outside of Windows, Mac OS, the next operating system people know is their phone. It's Android and iOS. That's what they know. I mean, shout out to the Windows Phone people, because I was there with you. We held on strong, but it's over. But I digress. When I'm talking about where they're after, the information that they talked about is that they have a partnership with Google. I want you to let that rest in. Think about what they said. Think about who their partnership is. So they came out and said, we're getting rid of Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. But there's something to understand here, and I don't want this to turn into a battle of which phone is better. Apple CarPlay is the overall leader of these infotainment systems inside of cars. My last episode, I made a joke on the McLaren 750S. It only has Apple CarPlay, doesn't have Android Auto. That's a very common thing, right? Android phones are the most popular around the world. They are still the most popular even in the United States, but Apple owns the other quarter of that, right? It's like 130 million iPhone users, iOS users in the United States. Whatever the rest of the population is using Android, which obviously, if you look at that, you'll say, oh, that beats it. The difference and reason why it becomes so popular is because Android is spread out. Android is used across the board because it is given to multiple manufacturers. So you have Huawei phones, you have Samsung phones, you have OnePlus phones, you have Motorola phones. There's only one iPhone. And so what happens is it becomes very familiar. The vertical stack is very slimmed down. Android from the get-go was designed to be given away, like Windows. Windows has multiple machines. There are Lenovo's, there's HP's, there's Dell's, there's Toshiba. But if you have a Mac OS, it only runs on iMacs. It only runs on MacBooks. It only runs on MacBook Pros, MacBook Airs. It's a very vertical silo for what they have. So it works better when people are in that world or in that walled garden. They know how they're operating and moving. So CarPlay is one of those things. And so here's my educated, uneducated way of giving people a fair warning. They're after your data. They didn't pick Google for no reason. Google also knows that Android Auto isn't always in some of these cars. It's not the most popular. So the best way to get their hands too on the same, because who you think is going to hold the data? You think GM is making data centers? You think GM is about to jump into the waters of Azure, AWS, and Google? Now, if that sounded like pure Japanese, those three companies I named and those three products are the backbone of almost every single thing you do. If it's cloud-based, if it's stored in the cloud, which is everything you do, your pictures on Instagram, your emails you send, the messages you send, every single thing you have done in the past 10 years is stored there. And there's only 3 giants that control basically the world. So who do you think GM's going to go to? Because I certainly wouldn't trust them storing my data. So they're going to go to Google. Google's going to help them partnership with this compelling idea. This is their partnership. They haven't done anything yet, but to show that they're using Google shows you that Google's on the back end coming basically for the same market share. Instead of trying to tout Android Auto, we're going to say, we're going to work with you. We're going to let you do your own thing. We're going to help you develop that software because GM can't do it on their own. We're then going to collect the data, store the data, sell it back to you, GM, as we store and hold the data for you for eternity. Then GM's going to start getting the information they need piece by piece, demographic by demographic, year by year, age by age, car by car, subscription by subscription. That is where we're headed. And this is just a PSA kind of episode. They do not believe what they're saying, okay? What they're saying is we found a compelling way to make money and to not earn, that's a bad word. We found a way to make money and we found a way to get your data. Because right now it's locked into your phone and we can't see what that is. And we would love to see what that is because what that is money. What that is information. Data as we move forward. As I jokingly talk about us needing cars that have antivirus protection, this is what I'm talking about. You are getting a slow walk into what the future is. Excuse me. You're getting a slow walk into what the future is. These companies want the information that they do not have access to. All those surveys you get, how is your service at the dealership? Oh, what age are you? What demographic? Oh, the Toyota owner's experience circle. Oh, the GM ownership experience. Whatever experience, whatever survey, that is a collection of data. When they put out, we're going to start subscribing to something and people, they see the backlash, that's just a test. They already have it in place. It's happening. They just want to see how much work do we have to do to kind of quell the fears or deal with the public when they're mad about something we're doing. That is what this is about. So when you see these articles start coming up, like the one above me here, and throughout this conversation, I'm probably throwing up pictures of who I'm talking about. But when you see these articles, this is not something to just say, oh, they're thinking about it. It's a smoking gun. This is what they're about to do. Them taking away this feature locks you into something. Now, there's people like me that are going to say, I ain't buying a GM product until I see something better than what I've seen. But there are plenty of people who don't even know this is happening. The Chevy Blazer SS EV is going to come out. It looks dope. I'm not even going to front on anybody. Looks fire. It's going to come out. People are going to go to the dealership. They don't know nothing about what's going on. They're not paying attention to the news. They got families, kids, jobs, careers. They're not looking at the car news like us geeks. We're the car nerds. We're looking at the news. They're not looking at the news. They go to the dealership. They get into the car. They put a deposit on it. They outfit it how they want. They get the specs they want. They get the car. Comes in, jump in the car. GM shows them the new system. Give me your phone. We're going to log into it by Bluetooth because that's all this is going to be. Instead of a direct wireless Apple CarPlay or wireless Android Auto, this is just Bluetooth. This is just going to be either NFC or some signal. You're going to tap your phone on it or you're going to send your phone via Bluetooth. It's going to pair all your contacts, your information, where you're driving. It is going to emulate so closely to what you had, but it's theirs. And you won't know any difference. And even if you put up a fight, even if you're like, yo, you didn't tell me about this, how many people are going to back out the car? How many people are going to say, you know what, I'm not going to buy it? No, they're not going to do that. They're going to make sure the marketing and everything for the car is so good that most, if not all people, are not backing out of it. But just so you know, whenever you see these articles about these new car manufacturers, not new car manufacturers, when you see these old car manufacturers that have been around for 100 plus years saying, we're going to take this away, we're going to remove this feature, They are actively working to find a way if they have not already found it. See, when they already say they're removing it and then they come on TV and double down, they got the numbers. They crunched them. They see the blowback. It didn't faze them because there is something to be gained at the end. This, to me, is one of the most terrible ideas. And it also proves to show you that we're getting to the point where your car, what you have in it and what you control and what information you have on it is going to be out of your hands. I'm not saying that we don't already give up a lot of data when it comes to the phones and the things that we already do. I understand that because there's going to be some people out there like, well, they already got your information, no matter. It's like me saying I have the address to your house because it's on Google Street View. You should just leave your door unlocked. Same thing. I mean, yes, we give some information. We don't need to give everything so willingly. But GM saying that they're getting rid of this feature proves one thing, that they are going to get to selling the data and selling you a subscription and selling you something. This service will cost us. It will not be free. They cannot make a compelling software, the storage that's needed for the data, the back end, the software developers, the support, the technical people. I work in IT. You're not building any of this without a team around it. And that team costs. And the subscriptions are coming. They're going to be paying for this stuff. That was just heavy on my mind. You know, voice is kind of cracking. It's late, okay? But I was just thinking about this all day. I'm like, they're playing. They are playing around. So just keep your head up. Keep your head on swivel. Keep your eyes open. The games are coming. This new EV phase that's coming, this is green pastures for them to try a whole bunch of foolery. So be prepared to pay to use your cup holders. It's coming. But with that, I don't want to leave you on such a somber note. There's good things coming. I have another episode coming about something more fun, some more cars, but this is important. Remember, data is the most important thing. It's the most valuable thing right now. It's a gold mine for these companies. Anybody. But as I say, do as you wish, do as you may. You may buy one of these GM EVs. I'm not. Until I find out what they're really trying to do. I got some idea. I'm going to find out. But do as you wish, do as you may. This CarQuicks is a little PSA, little note, some information to, keep up here, dwell on it. It'll come back up again. And until then, I'm out.